Good morning and welcome to our fireside chat on SystemReady, a standards framework so that software just works. My name is Berenice Mann. I work for the Architecture and Technology Group at Arm, heading up the outbound marketing. And I'm joined today by our panel, which is our colleague Imran Yusuf, who's Director of Hardware Ecosystem in the Infrastructure line of business, and Girish Shirasat, who is Director of Software Strategy in the Automotive and IoT line of business at Arm. And today we're going to talk a little bit about our new program, which expands upon our very successful ServerReady compliance program. ServerReady was designed for server platforms and based on some specifications and standards to help people be confident that their operating systems would just work on Arm servers. And we're now extending that to a wider range of devices and markets. So the team are happy to take questions from the audience. I hope you will put some in the box on the right-hand side of your screen as we come to that. And we've just been joined by Dong Wei. Dong is an Arm Fellow and Lead Standards Architect for the Architecture and Technology Group. So he's leading the charge on SystemReady. I'll now go to the panel to just introduce themselves a little bit more fully while I give you a chance to type some questions in, and then we'll make a start. So Dong, would you like to just give a little bit of background about yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Dong Wei. I work in the Architecture and Technology Group inside of Arm. I'm responsible for many of the system architecture based on industry standards. And I have led the ServerReady program in the past, and I'm now happy to also lead the Arm SystemReady program.
And Imran?
Thanks, Bernice. Hello, everyone. My name is Imran Yusuf. I am part of the Infolaw line of business, and my responsibilities include driving the ServerReady program, SystemReady program, as well as the hardware ecosystem strategy for the ecosystem team.
Girish?
Hi folks, my name is Girish Shirasat. I'm the Director for Software Strategy and Architecture in Automotive and IoT line of business. I'm responsible for defining the software architecture for the solutions that we are looking in the space of autonomous and industrial in the IoT line of business. And the key focus from my side is to see how can we apply SystemReady into the embedded space.
Great, thank you. So let's start with an easy question. Why is ServerReady expanding to new markets? So Dong, perhaps you'd like to take that for the general case, and then the other two can join in with their particular views.
Yeah, so we have been working on the ServerReady program for over a decade now, right? So we have been defining the specifications and tests, and so we have achieved the objective of landing the generic off-the-shelf operating systems onto the servers made by many of our partners. And so the success of the ServerReady program is leading us to think that the same benefit could apply to other segments as well, especially the infrastructure edge and IoT. So that's why we have been making a few changes into our specifications, and then we are extending the program beyond just servers to these wider sets of hardware.
Imran?
Thanks. So I'll add to what my colleague Dong just mentioned about the program and its expansion. If we look at it from an ecosystem perspective and also from an end user perspective, it's all about providing value for our ecosystem where they can focus on adding differentiation on top of the OS. And knowing with confidence that OSs just work, they can focus on differentiating above the OS layer. And then the other important benefit for our partners is the result that they can then reap with the end customer, who can then essentially be ensured that the software is just going to work on these systems. So it's an expansion of the market for our partners by having devices that are certified, and essentially by defragmenting the industrial as well as the infrastructure edge, we're providing this continuum of software and operating systems to run on ARM-based devices.
Yeah, and just to add to what Dong and Imran mentioned, if from embedded and from an IoT space, when we start looking at the applications like autonomous, when we are starting to talk to our customers or OEMs, what they are doing is they are putting a lot of focus around building their unique value proposition, which is around the software in the middleware layer, and they are building this on different platforms from various silicon providers to an extent wherein they are also looking at building their own silicon. So one of the key requirements that is coming to us is how can they move their software investment from the current generation of the platforms that they're defining to which is working with the silicon providers, to possibly in the future wherein they will have their own silicon or their own platform. And this is where I think SystemReady really becomes critical, wherein you can carry the investment from the current SIP-based platform, the silicon provider-based platform, to a possible OEM-based platform in the future.
Excellent. I have a question from the audience, which is, will there be an official SystemReady stamp for users? And will this work like ISO certification in the functional safety world?
Yeah, we will have a stamp that we are going to be launching at the Dev Summit. So Berenice has been working on that, very hard. So yes, we will have stamps for the new SystemReady program. It works similarly as what we have done for the ServerReady, certification, where we have ODM managers engaging with you to basically run a set of what we call the architecture compliance suite, and we will evaluate the results, and we also ask you to install a number of operating system distros to verify. And the process would be very similar to what we have done for the ServerReady. We are investigating, based on our partners' feedback, the potential of doing some additional, changes to the certification mechanisms. Those are still under investigation, and we look forward to your feedback.
Okay, so what is ARM doing to help ODMs upstream kernel device drivers and other kernel hardware enablement to Linux? Many of the smaller ARM ODMs struggle with upstreaming code to Linux.
Yeah, the SystemReady program itself is not involved in the upstream efforts, but we closely developed the hardware specifications as well as firmware specifications. So through that process, we are hoping that the partners will work with us together to develop the SoCs and the firmware solutions based on the requirements. And the operating systems, the generic off-the-shelf operating systems already support these specifications. These are minimum requirements. Of course, for the current generation of silicon, there may be still some issues. We are working with the partners to figure out ways to address, the non-compliance part of the hardware through maybe some of the firmware workarounds, and then we are also working with the partner to see, whether there are other things that we can help. But the SystemReady program itself is independent of the Linux kernel upstream activities.
And if I have to add to what Dong, sorry, go on, Imran.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Girish.
Yeah, so just to add to what Dong mentioned, so one of the things that would help in, say, the upstreaming activities is for certain aspects in, say, in embedded space, wherein you have the real-time or safety-relevant interfaces, which is exposed by the silicon or by the platform. So as part of the extension to, or as part of the Systems Ready program, what we are looking at is how can that be exposed to the operating system in a standardized way. And this standards-based definition should help in upstreaming of the, or should aid in the upstreaming of the Linux code, as an example. So how it can aid, although it's out of the scope, but it should help in upstreaming the Linux code.
I'll add a few points. So I think it's important to note that this is a new program. There's a lot of support from the ecosystem. It's a lot about collaboration with partners. And in this case, when we're talking about partners specifically, we're looking at working very closely with our silicon partners. So there's a lot of work that needs to happen in terms of their future designs. I mean, we're working with them on their current designs, as my colleague mentioned, and there's quite a lot of work that needs to be done in order to have those platforms be compliant. So if we do this correctly and have our partners, silicon partners, for example, implement their designs in a way that's compliant in terms of hardware compliance and firmware compliance, this is going to greatly simplify the lives of our ODM partners who may not be as software savvy and who are just looking to essentially, have designs that are in the market faster. So it's definitely going to make as their downstream consumer, their lives much simpler. And the other component that in terms of the collaboration is working very closely with our software partners, OSVs, companies like Microsoft and Red Hat and Canonical. So they're an important part so that they can focus on differentiating their operating systems and not about having to make modifications, patch updates, etc. to their OSs in order for them to run on ARM. So it's a really industry-wide collaboration that this program is attempting to bring together.
Yeah, I just want to add also that typically for the open source upstream, right? They would like to make sure that only the standard defined features are easily upstreamed. So many times they are telling us that they want to have interfaces defined in the standards before they upstream. So the specification that we are working on inside of the System Ready program, the firmware spec, the hardware spec, right, would provide a venue for that. Once things are written down in a standard way, it makes life a lot easier to do the upstream.
Okay, thank you. I'll go to the next question now, which is, what is ARM doing to ensure that security features such as secure boot are universally available on all ARM platforms?
Yeah, so we in the new System Ready program, we have created this security option, which basically means that if you implement the UEFI secure boot and the firmware update interfaces, we offer additional certifications, right? So on top of System Ready, the basic ones, you could also implement this additional option, and you get the additional certification. And that would give you the validation of supporting these two additional features. And also, we have an independent program called PSA certification as well, PSA certified. So in that certification, it checks against the 10 major security principles about your system design, and 2 of which are related to the secure boot and firmware update. So when you have a system-ready device that want to be PSA certified, one milestone that you can get to is to also get the security option certified in the System Ready. And then if you have that on your system, and go to the PSA certification process, you don't have to repeat these two areas, right? You already got the features implemented, so you just need to address the rest of the 8 out of the 10 principles to check. So even though the ARM SystemReady and PSA certified are two independent certification programs, they are related in this way. So you have a stepping stone to get to PSA certified with the security options added to the SystemReady program.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add, Imran?
No, I think Dong covered most of it. I mean, the big advantage that we're offering through this program is a head start. You can look at it that way, that the first 2 levels are available through the program as an opt-in. And then the other benefit is that you're assured that by implementing and going through the security option, is the implementation of this is being done in a standard compliant manner. So that's the other important aspect that we bring through the program.
Okay, so the next question is, server markets have a strong market or ecosystem pull and the benefit of being server ready compliant, so that one enterprise software binary can run any vendor's silicon. There's less of an apparent pull or ecosystem benefit to the non-server markets. Can you elaborate as to what specific benefit this brings? Embedded or automotive markets, for example, generally do not have a pre-compiled binary that needs to run on a range of vendors' silicon. So maybe one for you to start with, Girish.
Yeah, so this is one of the fundamental shifts that we do see happening today in the automotive and industrial space, wherein we do see that a lot of our partners are getting into that configuration wherein they can build a particular software stack for starting from, say, a platform from one silicon provider today, and then wanting to move to and they say, for example, they can have multiple models. If I take an automotive OEM for that matter, they would have multiple platforms feeding into multiple of their car models. And you would have a particular configuration of the software stack that needs to run across this models, and that needs to be based on a common baseline. So having a common binary for the baseline software with different middleware configurations for each of the models is critical. This is where SystemReady really plays a key role, wherein it allows us with that benefit to enable a platform support or multi-platform support with a single image. But also what it also allows is to, when the same OEM moves to the next generation of their platforms, wherein they are looking at creating their own silicon, it also allows them to take this investment with them. So this is one of the critical aspects from SystemReady, that how it's getting applicable to us and how things are changing in the automotive and embedded space the more we are talking to our partners.
I think also we're kind of moving our portability promise from the CPU architecture level up to the system level, which is quite an important step. And I think it's adding that extra a sense of confidence to people that at the system level we've addressed this as well.
Correct.
Does anyone else want to come in on that point?
I will add one comment, which I think dovetails nicely to this the question that was asked around the infrastructure edge and embedded in general. We launched a project Cassini last year, and there's a lot of momentum that is building around Cassini, which is an initiative to ensure a cloud-native software experience on ARM devices that are on the edge. So the edge in this case is the IoT edge, it's the infrastructure edge, it's automotive. And SystemReady is an important pillar of Project Cassini. There are 2 other important pillars. One is security, and then the third is cloud-native software stacks and reference use cases. So these are, Cassini is providing these proof points to customers, OEMs and customers, that that is going to create this pull for the market, and also provide an expansion opportunity for our ecosystem to sell their silicon and their software through.
Thank you. So I think we've probably got time for one brief question, which is, will there be, like in the PCI world, Plugfest-like activities to ensure that different individually certified systems work together?
That's a very interesting question, actually. Yeah, certainly in the industry there has been PCI, SIG, Plugfest activities, right? And also UEFI has Plugfest activities as well in the past. Yeah, this year is particularly challenging because everything turns virtual, and shipping systems around for Plugfest is a bit harder. But I hope this is just an exception to the norm. So in the future, I think we should look into taking advantage of these activities. I think part of the reason some of the other architectures are having this more compatible, standard way of doing business is that they take advantage of, some of these Plugfest activities. I think the ARM community could and should do that as well.
Okay, so very quick one. What are the incentives for an ODM to participate in SystemReady rather than what they are doing today?
I can take a stab at this one. So one of the benefits that ODMs can derive from this is if you're producing a white box, how do you differentiate one white box from another? By definition, they're all very similar. So the differentiation is going to happen above the hardware, which is where the software is going to run. So by allowing different software solutions running on these platforms, the ODMs are going to be able to differentiate themselves based on not just the hardware, but the software that's going to run on their platforms. And the ability to self-certify your platform, and if we do our job right with our silicon partners, it's going to also reduce the ODM's time to market by having platforms that are already compliant. So they're going to break down these silos that are today inherent in the way that the ecosystem is structured, where you're getting specific drop from silicon partner A, and then you're siloed there, and then you're getting a specific drop from partner B, and you're essentially creating a software silo there. So the intent is to essentially break down those wall gardens and have an ecosystem that essentially is looking at this more broadly from a TAM expansion perspective for our ODMs.
Thank you. I'm going to have to halt the questions there and wrap up a little bit. I'd like to thank the audience for your very interesting questions. If anything didn't get answered, you can contact us for more information on the program or with other questions on systemready@arm.com after this. I'd like to thank the panel for their excellent answers. Dongwei, Imran Yusuf, and Girish Shirasat, thank you so much. And we look forward to joining you at our virtual Dev Summit in October, where we'll be launching SystemReady. Sadly, not in person, but we look forward and hope you'll join us at our tech talks and everything else there. It's been a pleasure. I'm Berenice Mann. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.